Oh, okay. Welcome everybody to the policy committee meeting. Any public comment today? Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. Anastasia Meeker at 28 Jumbo Drive. On behalf of the community, I'd like to thank you for posting the agendas for the committee meetings. The feedback I've received has been overwhelmingly positive, and people are thankful for having the commission. I'd like to respectfully request that the agendas be expanded slightly. Bullet point topics are not sufficient to explain the exact nature of the discussion. Adding this information will also save board members time in replying to emails which question the discussion. Please consider this request for next month's meeting agendas. I'd now like to address the use of technology in the district. In my continued pursuit to obtain the support for my children that they have a legal right for, I have experienced marked misrepresentation by the district's unwritten policy of transcribing meetings, and also been refused those meeting notes that have been described in meetings which I was in. My husband and I now have requested to audio record those meetings regarding our children. This action is fully supported by the Individuals with Disability Act. I made the request on a formal consent form and was denied this right by Mrs. Langel, who stated the district has a policy against this. And although she did not cite the specific policy, I found what I believe she was referring to, Board Policy 113, which states, an attempt to record by a meeting by a parent and a guardian after a verbal denial made by the district staff shall be resulted in an immediate termination of the meeting and may result in injection from the district and possible prosecution. This is the first time I've ever heard the district threatening to prosecute a parent for trying to attempt to accurately document the meeting. I respectfully ask that you alter this policy, as it now has put the support required to my children at a standstill in the special education program. However, I must note that the building administrators have allowed me, a parent, to become the special administration support for my children, complete with sending home materials from the district to use with them at home. Please consider revising this policy to allow parents to obtain an accurate record of the proceedings, and in general, please consider how the district communicates and retreats parents who are only advocating for their child to receive their right of ethical education environment. My husband would like to add that if there's no wrongdoing on either part, recording should not be an issue. Thank you for your consideration in these matters.
Thank you so much. Okay, moving on to old business. We have none, unless there's something else. Oh, approval of minutes, I'm sorry. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes, which should be in. I don't think so. Oh, they were sent to us. Okay. I did.
Hi. Sorry about that.
That's fine. We're just looking at the minutes to approve. We made a motion to approve the minutes.
Thanks. Thank you. Flip boxes, right? Thank you.
Do you have any questions on that one? Minutes from last meeting. You okay with everything? Okay.
Yeah, I was okay.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes for the meeting for the month of August. Second? Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. The minutes are approved. Okay, moving on to old business. So we have none, anything to add on old business. Moving on to new business, policies for review. I'll turn it over to Julie.
Policies. The first one is policy 008, which is our board meetings and
is just a title change, and that Mrs. Waller will be commissioned on Thursday as assistant superintendent. And so we requested that policy logo reflects her title.
Yeah, and that's the only real change you're making to this, and the organizational chart is staying the same. Wow, so efficient. But it works, right? Okay, pretty cool. Any comments on policy 008? Any objection to moving it to first read? I guess at this, we'll do it at this meeting?
Yes.
Well, I mean, which, you know, because
She'll be commissioned on, by the end of the week, and then we have our meeting.
meeting, so we can do it. Okay, perfect, okay. Policy 15 is next up.
So policy 15, this was requested, I believe, as I mentioned in my email, from the technology committee. Mrs. Olszewski had requested that this be brought forward for review. So in preparation for this, stuff being proposed for 815, what he has done is he's highlighted the areas. So there were some changes that needed to be made. Particularly position title is one issue you see quite a bit that he highlighted and didn't know. Like, the last time that this was revisited and revised was back in 2012, and there have been some changes. And this really covers the acceptable use. So not necessarily the academic pieces, but it's the guidelines for using technology. I know that Mr. Burns did a little bit more to this. But it was time just to look through this to make sure that we are still in compliance. There is one section that you will see highlighted when we get towards the end, we talk about social media and social networking, and we'll discuss that a little bit further. So, any general questions about the policy at this point? All right, Mr. Ernst.
Okay, great, thank you. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to come to the committee and share my recommendations and thoughts on this subject. So what you have are, there's two documents. The actual policy itself, what I've done through the policy is any place where something wasn't applicable, moving forward, I've structured the text. And then any recommendations for new additions are highlighted there in yellow. Okay, like Mrs. Vicente indicated. So going through this, obviously the title references staff, students, community members, just for the sake of clarification. Includes all district employees, teachers, instructional assistants, custodians, even contractors that the district brings in to work on the HVAC system. If we bring in someone to work on a server specifically for us, they fall under this policy. Guest speakers also fall under the policy. And also any community groups that ask for and are granted permission to access the network. For example, we've helped the Girl Scouts of West Reading on occasion over at the Hills, the Y, ask for access. So we try to accommodate those community groups, those community members as needed appropriately through our resources. So that sort of explains the title of it there. So under authority, the first section there, at this point, I don't have any recommended changes. The second section is the delegation of responsibility, and there you'll see there's a title change. The third section, under guidelines, I have an addition under prohibitions, and that would be item number 16. It will be a new item, and it will be the addition of the use, and this would be a prohibition, something prohibited, the use of any data mining bots or similar data gathering and extraction methods in violation of any person's or entity's rights. And what that, translating that into English, what we're talking about is someone having the ability to run a keylogger or some other piece of software on one of the district machines to capture passwords or private or confidential information. It's not addressed anywhere else in the existing policy the way it's written, and it's, given today's age, it's something that's important. So that's a recommendation under, again, under guidelines, prohibitions, excuse me, and that would be number 16. The next section, under security, there's no recommended changes there. Under safety, referring to the internet, again, no changes there. Under software and hardware, there's two additions and the title changes title change in item 4, and the addition of number 5, which relates back to some of the things we've been talking about in the technology committee, in regards to safety with devices and appropriate use. And number 5 would be district-owned devices will be operated within the specifications provided by the respective manufacturer. So if the manufacturer is saying, if you have a tablet or device and keep it on the table or keep it a certain distance from you, then the expectation would be we're keeping it on the table or a certain distance. We're not putting it on the lap, or we're not walking around operating it. Because obviously if we're walking around operating it, we drop it, things could break, you know, and then the kids could come into contact with glass or be cut or whatever the case may be. And then number 6 is file storage on the network or district-provided internet resources, because we have a lot of cloud services here in the district, is limited to schoolwork only unless authorized in writing by the Director of Information Technology. So there, the reason for the recommendation there is we want to keep it school-oriented. Now, if a club or an athletic team or whatever the case may be, or the music department wants to put some content up for an audition, let's say, that's certainly something that we can accommodate, and we would accommodate because it would support the kids and the instruction. But as far as storing, you know, 200 photos or whatever the case may be, that's not why we have those file servers set up in place. If they're being used for instruction, that's different. But if they're not, you know, it doesn't make sense. So, yes.
So who, in terms of number 5,
Yep.
who's giving that device usage instruction to the kids about?
Depends on where you are across the district. For example, you know, if you're, let's say, junior, senior high school, we use that as an example. Okay, with our 7th graders that have not had a one-to-one device previously in the past, this fall we kicked off something new. Ginger Johnson and I met with all the 7th graders last week, and we just did a very brief introduction. And then our plan is we're going to actually hold a series of meetings with them, and each time we meet, we're going to be going over something else. And that's one of the topics we're going to cover. Along, Maria had some other suggestions that came out of technology with the safety and the digital citizenship. And we're going to try to cover all those in our sessions that we have with kids. And then, in addition to doing them in this session, like let's say, for example, Mark's the 7th grader, he misses the session. The content then will be put on Schoology so that all the kids are all enrolled in one gigantic class right now. So when Mark comes to school, he still has access to that, and he won't be left out and not know that he's not supposed to do X, Y, and Z. So that's new for this fall.
Is
And
there?
that's it.
Sorry.
Oh, no, go right ahead.
Thank you. Is there a way, if student A is using their device inappropriately, taking pictures or things like that, how does the district, can they be caught?
We have a couple of software applications that allow us the ability to see the files. From a classroom management perspective, with the new Apple School Manager that we're rolling out this fall, it's actually going to give, again, I'm going to use the example of this particular group. If I'm the instructor and Mark is off task doing something he shouldn't be in my class, once it's fully implemented, I will be able to look at his device and see, oh, everybody else is on Schoology, Mark's on the internet. And then, it will actually show Mark Boyer the internet, and then if I double click on him, I'll see, oh, look at this, he's looking at the Eagles in English class. Yeah.
I imagine there, like, I know with my son, there's going to be some downtime in
Right.
class, and as long as they're not doing something bad on it,
Right.
there's some downtime. I know that there are some kids who are using that just for, like, at lunchtime, I'm sure some of them log on to ESPN,
different
can they?
things. Right.
And check
And they have
scores or
access,
something?
yeah, some of the athletes have access, we loaded Huddle on there, so you
Okay.
can see plays and things like
Right,
that.
okay.
Yeah.
And that's okay?
Yep, Dr.
Okay.
Jones is fine with that. And we've been in communication over what he's considering appropriate and not appropriate.
Okay. And in terms of digital citizenship,
Yep,
this is another thing as a parent I'm
Right.
noticing, we talked about this.
yep,
In my son's class, they call it roasting, where their pack of friends kind of joke back and forth, but from a parental point of view, I wouldn't call it roasting. I don't know if there's part of that, those workshop sessions for students, if, you know, they won't call it bullying, and among friends, you likely
Right.
wouldn't, but if a teacher caught sight of it,
right.
or a parent, it would give the impression of bullying, or on any given evening, depending on a child's mood, it might be bullying, do you know what I mean? So the grasp of what you put on screen,
Yeah.
it's escaping an age group, maybe? I mean,
Yeah, it's that concept of, they've got to comprehend what their digital footprint is and understand as they walk across the online resources, they're leaving these digital footprints. And, I mean, say what you want, I can find a website that I can retrieve just about anything that's been deleted. You know, even if you post something and it goes away, there's ways to recover it. There's a whole industry behind it right now that's archiving content online. So, yes, to answer your question, absolutely.
going forward, I mean, I know I've sat in on Corey's message to the students,
Yeah.
but that's like day one in the auditorium.
Well, right, and we have
And-
new students. we have-
Yeah.
And part of this is just setting the expectation.
Right.
And it's difficult because there is so much information at this point to try to be honest.
Right.
But it's setting the expectation, continuing to message that. It's also having the teachers partnering with administration to make sure that what's happening in the classroom is in fact happening and these extracurriculars are not occurring at that time.
Right.
And making sure that we as a district have those safeguards in place. You know, you can't say that message enough, but at the same time, we need to find that balance and
Yes, of course.
understand that it doesn't reflect, don't focus on learning or that digital citizenship again. We have that
Right.
authority and responsibility and really need to make sure that kids understand that. But sharing it in a meaningful way, that
Right.
they understand it and stop saying that digital footprint across sites so that they're understanding.
We were at the beach with some cousins who live in Ridgefield, Connecticut, and there were students in that school district who are now offenders, like predators, just because of a bad decision-making, and they were of the age, they were seniors, and they now have, you know, a criminal record based on what they, you know, made a bad choice at one instance, and now have this, you know, label, like that was kind of scary.
Some of the other attorneys come in and talk about this. That's one of the things that they tell them. And the discussion with seventh graders is very different than the 12th graders.
Yes, right.
So if you become a
Yes,
12th grader,
right,
the game changes significantly.
right.
We do have attorneys come in and please talk about it. So there's pictures up on the website, you see that's happening.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, great questions. So that is the software, hardware recommendations, the additions I'd like to add. Confidentiality, at this time, no recommended changes, that covers everything. Under copyright, there's a title change, and then under the establishment of websites, again, there's a title change in there. And then, last but not least, under social networking and social media, the first change is the addition and social media. So right now it's just social networking. And then you can see there's a title change there and under number 2 and at the very end. But the discussion point really is around number 1, which is the communication between district employees and current WASD students through social networking and sites not hosted or sponsored by the district is prohibited. So, for example, a site like what we employ here with Schoology is walled, which means if we're all in the same class and Mark's one of my students and Mark sends a message to me or to the group of us in a discussion, all of us in this section can view that message. If there's a second session over here of Algebra 1, Mark's message can only be seen by us. It's by the section of the course. And all of those walls exist throughout every course and every section through the system. An example that isn't walled like that would be like an outside service. One of the examples is Remind Me, and where you subscribe and the teacher can essentially send out an alert, a notification that would say, hey, Mark, don't forget the paper that's due. Well, you wouldn't use the word Mark, but everyone, your assignment's due next Thursday, or money for graduation caps is due next Wednesday, or whatever the case may be.
So what's happened at this point is, when we were reviewing the policy, and this is why we wanted to discuss this, one of the things we're thinking about is making sure that we have almost no sites to use for this or apps for this. That it's a one-way communication. So Remind Me, you can have two-way, but I believe the privacy is blocked for this. We know that there are some coaches that use Remind Me. We know that some of our advisors do. And what we would like to do is get a better handle on what's being used, vet them out. Because the concern is that there is some communication here. And the teachers that I've spoken with, it's one-way communication. It may be changed for practice. It may be something that kids need to bring for practice, but it's still the identity is protected. If there are things with some of the clubs, I know when we had student council uses this for reminders and things like that. But I just think it's in our best interest that we have some approved tools that we can use. I don't want staff just selecting anything. I would like Scott to be able to vet these to make sure that they are as safe as they can be, that we're not looking into things.
Yeah, because we essentially, just to follow up on that, we don't want to be in a position where we're utilizing a third-party application that's hosted in San Francisco in somebody's garage, where, Mark and Lynette are on the same team or whatever, and Mark bullies Lynette, and then we don't have a way to go into the system and view it and say, yes, he did, or no, he did not. We want to make sure that,
That goes to your
Just a general comment on this subject. I mean, I'm fine with what you have here. The one thing that I perceive is happening out there, and this relates to the use of technology by our students, is that there's not really any black and white, a lot of gray. And the gray depends on which teacher you're dealing with. Some teachers provide more latitude than others. Some teachers will yell at a kid for having the phone out going to class, doing a text, other teachers look at it and say, no problem. So my concern is that the rules are not clearly delineated and understood, and there might be too much gray area out there for the staff, and that leads to inconsistencies with the kids. The kids don't know, well, can I do this, can I not? If the teacher sees me, I'm okay with this, but if that teacher sees me, I'm gonna be sent down to Dr. Jones for doing the same thing. So I don't know whether that's been addressed or thought about, as a way to deal with that issue. So the rules are the rules, and there they are.
okay.
Yeah, issues of enforcement, maybe some teachers just, I'm not gonna enforce that, you can't write about that. Maybe the rules are clear, and it's just an issue of the individual teacher saying, hey, I'm gonna let that go, and I'm not letting that go. Any thoughts on that point? Anybody?
No, it's, so as you're speaking, we're thinking, we talked about this.
Okay.
And what I think we need to make sure is that Dr. Jones and Dr. Bath, and also to an extent with Mrs. Post, that is age appropriate, but that those expectations are being set with staff as well. And that's something we can very easily make sure is happening. It's almost like saying what are the non-negotiables when it comes to technology in the classroom.
Right.
This is what the non-negotiables are. It's gonna look different in the high school, and it's gonna look like in West Rank, then it's gonna look like at the Hills. That they need to be established, and that they need to be monitored. Because we're monitoring them with kids, so it also needs to be, I think, with that discussion with staff to make sure that consistency is there.
This is okay, this is not okay, type of thing, so there's
So it's the
no
same.
consistency.
When I put up when to be out, with the principals and teachers.
Let's forget about that subject, please. At least for one more year. You do it once.
So what we would like to do is, I guess, further vet this out. I mean, some of these title changes, but also to work a little bit more with number one. Because I think we need to have a little bit more information from staff to understand what is being used, and then we'll come back to you with some recommendations. That would be the biggest change to this policy.
Yeah,
There hasn't been anything in state code. I mean, this is an internal request to review the policy. And other than the couple of things that Scott has recommended, this was the biggest one that I still think we need to do.
what you're referring to, I'm
So
sorry.
this is under social networking and social media. When
Yeah.
we're talking about this one-way communication, reminding and just having a better feel for what's used, but then having a better list of what is appropriate.
Well, yeah, but if that's a site or service that's hosted and sponsored by the district, which it is or it is not.
Right, well, that's the thing, we need to vet each one and make sure that they are.
Right.
And we have, and don't take this the wrong way, and we need to have administrative control over it. We need to be able to get into it if there's an incident.
Right, no, I agree with 100%. So if we're using a service,
Right.
we need to be able to get information from that service if something happens.
Right.
Okay, what happened? We need to see this communication. Candidates will know if we can't, it's protected by privacy, whatever
Right.
the case may be. You know, then we say, okay, we can't use these folks because, you know, we have to know what happened if we have a complaint.
Exactly.
Does this policy touch on another policy about email and teacher-student communication in general? Like, I feel like not too long ago.
Addresses that there
Yeah,
are other
yeah, yeah.
policies. This is specifically for acceptable use of technology. So when you see the policies, there will be cross-references to other
Yeah.
policies. And when Shelley goes into the information, she'll make sure that all of the other cross-references. You just have to work document it in the actual policy. So what I would think, so what I would recommend is that we still hold on to this policy, it doesn't go forward for first read yet, and we'll pull this back the next month for action and recommendation.
So once you vet these like reminding programs
Right.
or apps, so would coaches and teachers be made aware of these are the only acceptable avenues for you to use to communicate with kids?
Right.
So I'm seeing that tying into what Scott is bringing up in terms of expectations, because we can actually get to these in the conversation. Okay?
Okay with that? Oh, sorry, yes.
Oh, no, I was just gonna ask if there were any other questions or.
All right.
Everybody good with that?
So moving on to policy 828.1, this is provider screening. This is a new policy that we're bringing forward to you. We discussed this in August, and we currently do not have a policy like this in place. Mark has taken lead on this in regard to vetting out vendors and making sure that they are, for lack of a better word, legit or not disqualified by the Commonwealth, and so this policy will put in place procedures.
So basically, this policy is exactly what they said, was on how we kind of vet vendors. So we're supposed to actually go through it, there's a step screening process, but there's 3 sites that we're supposed to check with all of our vendors. And this is mostly for outside vendors that we use for, or get reimbursed for medical access. So someone like Lost Hills, or some of our other providers that we claim under medical access get reimbursement for, we should put against these 3 websites just to make sure that they're on essentially what the state has determined as a list of vendors that are not qualified. We currently do not do this, but this policy will put in place a practice of doing it, just to make sure that we're within state guidelines. Most of our vendors are vendors that other districts use also. So, you know, districts that do have policies, which there are a few out there already, in the county. So I'm assuming the vendors are still, you know, okay and approved by the Commonwealth. There's also some record retention along with this policy as far as when we keep the records in place, how long we keep the documentation on certain vendors and contractors. It also says that some employees would also need to be put against that list too. If we are receiving reimbursement for their wages. So we would also need to check employees against this also. So that's kind of the gist of this policy here is kind of a bits and pieces of different policies out there that we reviewed, kind of put together in the policy fit for our district.
Mark, I recall, maybe it was a different context, that we had already talked about these policies. You know, did we put something in place along this line?
Yeah, this was something that was also said in, we went through the policies before
For
the
bidding
6
contracts and things along those lines?
Yeah, it was for federal funding.
Federal funding, okay,
Yes.
gotcha.
So,
Okay.
I have that folder here, but yeah, there were similar things, but this was specifically just for medical access and vetting those employees against, there's 3 specific sites that
Okay.
the state has just for vendors that are covered by medical access.
Same issue,
Yes.
just a different segment of our
So
operations.
the other policies were more broader as when you're receiving federal funding in general, Title I, Title II, Title III,
Right.
all those. This is specifically towards medical access.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just one comment here.
Sure.
It's no longer called the Pennsylvania Department of Public Welfare. It is now the Pennsylvania Department of Human Services. Name change about 6 months or so ago, a year ago, they changed it. It's Department of Human Services is what it's now called. I don't know if you want to change it, it's not like it's.
If we can update that, it's.
I just happen to know, like, under D, Department of Public Welfare, then under that's within the Pennsylvania Department of Welfare, it should be, all those should be Department of Human Services.
Got it. We'll change that
That's what
for
that
now.
should be.
We want to make sure we're up to date with that.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, sure.
Are you comfortable with that going for first read, with that change?
Yeah. Yeah, everybody go with that?
The last thing was we figured, this is, we have an annual notice document from the National School Board Association. And so what you have before you are just the acts that we need to notify. And so what, we've done is just to make sure that all of these are properly notified to our community. And most of them are through the calendar and the handbook, although some are through policy. So one thing to note with ESSA coming to light, because the documents have not changed yet, we're still under NCLB, but this is referenced in the calendar and handbook. FERPA is also referenced in calendar and our handbooks. Protection of pupil rights and all you have here just descriptions of what they are, is in policy 235.1. Child nutrition programs, this is one thing, going forward in this school year, we will be updating the website, so this section does need to be updated on the website. It's certainly with the changes that we've had, we spoke about today during, finance. So that will be updated. The Asbestos Hazard Emergency Response Act is noted and updated on the website under the Buildings and Grounds Department. The McKinney-Vento Homeless Act is on the website under curriculum. And then the various titles are the policies 103, 104. The IDEA is 103, 113, 113, 113. So just so that you know that we have names and lists, that they are up to date with the exception of nutrition programs and that's just more information. Okay?
So we're required to give the Boy Scouts access to our facility.
And we do.
I know we always do, I'm just curious if
And, you
we're
know,
required.
when Shelley brought this in, she's like, isn't that pretty interesting? I said, yes. And I don't know.
It's a good thing, I didn't know we were required to have it.
But same thing with her, I know that they use as
Well,
opposed
the three I was gonna say doesn't Girl Scouts.
Yeah, don't the Girl Scouts, well, you can say, you must say yes to the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts would say everything. You know, sorry. I know we don't do that, obviously, but it's just,
So,
I find it interesting.
that's all taken care of. The only other thing is just an announcement, as you've seen on the SBA, that we, pass up, leadership conferences in October. I don't know if anybody's planning to attend this. I just want to, I remember registration, I should have realized when this has passed, it's still registered.
Do we register through the district? Or through them? Do we have a That's reimbursed through the district, the fees.
It should be. It should be schools. But I just wanted to, I didn't know anything else was.
You have a rep that goes there, you know, like the folks for lines or
Is
something?
the
Liaison.
Oh, that'd be beautiful.
Terry and I were thinking of going on Friday to Saturday. Figure logistics out at our homes.
Yeah, we have a spot. Which would not be reimbursed by.
Right, just getting away from the children might be, you know, relaxing enough. It's some good guest speakers actually, but, when I saw that, I was gonna ask you how we would register using the guest speakers.
Our next meeting is Wednesday, October 5th, 2016, at 12 noon. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.